Hey guys, thank you for being patient. We had a little doggy situation. Somebody decided he wanted to go greet some golfers. So he went and said hi. So let me know. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes and see. Winston, you wanna say hi? Were you naughty? Did you run on the golf course? Yes, you did. Okay. All right, well, while everybody gets on, I really want to talk to you guys about being a turtle and why that's not necessarily a bad thing. Thank you. Winston knows he's a cutie. So I can only share my experiences and what I've learned, but really what I want you guys to take away from my little talk or live broadcast is not to leave this call the same as you came here. You have the power to control the controllable. You have the power over your mindset, over your philosophy, and how you look at things, the scope through which you view the world. So I want to challenge some of the beliefs that you may have developed in this business. And I know some people have said, maybe it's too late for me to have success now, or I don't have the it factor that somebody else has. I don't have the same way with words, and that's okay. I kind of want to talk today about how to figure those things out and then how to use what you might perceive as a weakness actually as your strength and the thing that separates you from everybody else. So I'm a huge note taker. I have notes because I really want to stay on task and respect your time. But before I kind of dive into everything, for those of you who don't know me, I started my Beachbody career, or backing up to before my Beachbody career, I've always been a straight A student. I've always loved school. I've always been kind of a nerd, a book nerd especially. I really love to read. So when I was in college, I come from a family that doesn't have a lot of money. And there's 4 of us. So, when I was in college, there wasn't a lot of money to pay for tuition, so I had to work, which was totally fine. Here's where the issue came up. I was working to be able to afford to go to school and pay for books. But I was working so much that for the first time in my life, somebody who's taken the SATs early, who graduated high school early, now is having grade slip, which was, a new experience for me and something really challenging. So my counselor pulled me inside and said, maybe you can work less hours so that you can focus more on your studies. And I said, well, if I work less hours, then I can't go at all because I won't have the money to pay for it. So thus began this horrible vicious cycle of not having any money. And what they ended up recommending is that I take a semester off so that I would be able to catch up. Well, a semester turned into 2 semesters, turned into 3 semesters, and now I'm a college dropout who has never gone back. So that was a really big pill for me to swallow. That was very difficult. And at the time I was working in retail management, so I got caught up in this vicious cycle of working all these crazy hours. And you would think, since you're working all these different hours, that you actually have more flexibility to do things. Well, in the retail world, if anyone's been a retail manager, you know that they almost have a cult-like expectation of you, that this is supposed to be your passion for the rest of your life, and if you're starting to defer to other interests or other jobs, you won't get hours, you won't get promotions. So they really don't view you as someone who's going to stick around in the business, so they treat you like that. So I'm working all these crazy hours, not really able to go back to school or pursue other things because I'm perceiving that as threatening my livelihood. So I'm stuck in this horrible cycle, barely making ends meet with the money that I was making, and then eating at Subway and Quiznos and Chick-fil-A for lunch. So now I'm 20 pounds overweight. So I go to the gym, and I would spend even up to 2 hours on the treadmill or elliptical. And actually I ended up gaining weight, which is pretty funny because I had no idea what a complex carb was. Here I am, 25 years old, not in the place I thought my life would be. Here I am with all these dreams, and I had this feeling that I would do something amazing and cool with my life. And now all of a sudden I'm a college dropout, I'm 20 pounds overweight, I'm in a dead-end job, and I'm barely making my bills each month, and it was a very stressful time. So I late one night saw a P90X commercial, and I bought that for full price before the days of challenge packs. And then I went on Team Beachbody website, and saw that you could become a coach. And this is the part where I can't really explain, and some of you may relate to this. I can't really explain why, because I really thought it was a scam. I really thought, am I going to put my social security number into some mystery website to do some job to make money that I don't even understand or know what it was. This was back in like the end of 2010, before network marketing was more prevalent and people knew anything about it. So I had this glimmer of this is the path I'm supposed to take, but I have so many questions about it and so many insecurities and worries, but I'm just gonna jump, you know, like in head first and see what happens, basically. So I did that, and I had all these reasons why this business had to work. I had all these things going on in my life, but this is like the end of the line. If this does not pan out, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because I was so sick of being stuck in that vicious cycle of paycheck to paycheck and in a job that I felt no purpose, no meaning, no higher, you know, like purpose, really, like no love for it, no direction with where I was going. So as a new coach, I'm broke, 25 years old, and I worked my tail off, guys. I listened to personal development. I was doing every training resource. There wasn't a whole lot from Beachbody back then, but I was doing every training resource, getting on every team call, participating in every way that I could, getting out of my comfort zone, and doing things like shake and share parties, which you guys probably don't even know what that is, where you invite people over to drink Shakeology at your house and try it. I was doing all these things, really just diving out of my comfort zone in every imaginable way. And when I calculated how many hours I worked versus the income that was coming in, I don't want to set your expectations. Beachbody does not guarantee income, but I made a whopping 73 cents per hour based on all of the hours I was putting into this. So I sucked. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to make a sale. It was 6 weeks before I convinced somebody, like God love her, to buy Brazil butt lift. And I just felt completely like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? Because obviously there's something I'm doing that's not right. Because you see other coaches, you instantly start comparing, like, okay, I've been doing this for X amount of time and they're making this amount of money and I'm only making nothing. I'm only making like one sale a week. So it was frustrating, you know, and it's like, am I really going to keep putting my effort into something that's not paying off? But the thing about Beachbody, and Scotty said this the other day, you do a lot of effort in the beginning for virtually zero reward, if not zero reward. The only reward you have is your own personal sense of accomplishment, which can be amazing in and of itself. But financially, there's not a whole lot of reward. And then over time, that actually starts to shift. And right now, I don't do nearly as much work. I still love what I do. But the income has gone, you know, up exponentially. Again, Beachbody does not guarantee income. So how did I go from broke at 25 to Millionaires Club at 31? Because, you know, anytime I would hear these stories, I'm like, well, but how? But what did they say? What did they do? What were the things that that coach was doing specifically? And again, you start comparing and you start thinking, well, I got to do what they're doing. And I've got to follow this path because obviously that's success. And while it is true that success leaves clues, it's so important to reflect on what other people are doing and make it fit to you. So I want to talk about what I didn't have going for me. I don't have an outgoing personality. I'm very introverted, and in fact, I'm pretty shy, which, you know, not a lot of people know. I'm not somebody that really likes to go up to a lot of people and talk to them. It makes me like break out in a sweat. I'm even nervous getting on the live calls still after 6 years. I didn't have a huge network of people, and I didn't have a supportive network when I started. So the people that I knew, I know some of you guys are from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh historically is a working class city. So back in 2010-11, before anyone knew what network marketing really was, that was in our generation, they're like, make money online? How? Why? You know, it wasn't the set path of what you do. So people were really skeptical, and I cannot blame them for that. But people were not only skeptical, they were actually kind of mean about it. So I didn't have this like network of people, this warm market that I could just go to, and my family has never really been, you know, I didn't know what a complex carb was until I was 25 when I started doing Beachbody. So my family wasn't into health and fitness. I'm not into health and fitness. I'm not a lover of fitness or a trainer or someone that had any knowledge of that before. So I felt like that was working against me. I don't have a lot of experience with network marketing or trying to talk to people or sponsoring coaches. I felt like that was working against me. I didn't have a beach body. I didn't have results even when I started. So I had all these things in my mind that I'm like, well, that's a ding against me, that's a ding against me, that's a ding against me. And instantly you're looking at your sponsor coach and you're like, okay, well, they're successful. And like for me, it's like Lindsay, who I love. And I'm like, well, she's blonde and beautiful and she's got a really great way of explaining things and she's really good with words. So she's all these things, and I don't know if I have that it factor that she has. I don't know if I can do what she does. So does that mean that I can't be successful? So I really had to have a shift in my philosophy, a shift in the lens through which I was viewing Beachbody and through my life and myself. And I started to think, okay, I might not have that going for me, but let me take stock of what I do have going for me. What are the things that I'm good at? What are the things that can work for me? What are the things about me, my situation, my experiences, my story that I can use to be successful? I had a willingness. I had a need. I was eager to learn and be successful and to have money and to have freedom. I was excited. I had that enthusiasm that you get as a new coach. I had time, and I don't mean time at the time. I had time as in the future. I kept thinking, am I going to keep doing what I'm doing and stay here? Or am I going to think about the actions I need to take to create a better future? And it's so funny because just about maybe 3 months ago, I actually talked to an ex-coworker of mine who 6 years later, guys, 6 years later, is still there doing the same job. And I was thinking about it today because I actually started crying. I don't know if it's the pregnancy hormones, but I was like, oh my gosh, I was like almost like shaking thinking, what if that was me? What if I was where I was 6 years ago? Who doesn't want to grow and learn and have a better future? And it does make me sad to think of those people who aren't willing to do that work, to put in that work. And not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone has that hunger inside them. Not everyone has the desire. Some people are really comfortable or happy with where they are, and that's fine if that's their goal. But it does make me sad to think about, that could have been me. I also had a willingness to set my ego aside and to try new things and to figure out, okay, flexibility. I'm going to try something, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. I can try new things. I wasn't so rigid in, well, if I don't do it exactly the way Lindsay says it or another coach says it, that I can't be successful. This is the big one for me. I am resourceful and curious. You guys, I would show you my phone right now, but pretend like this is my phone. In your palm of your hands, you have every resource on the planet. You have Google. So what if I wasn't a trainer, I didn't have experience? I have my own experience with P90X and health and fitness to share. If somebody asks me a question, I can Google it and say, well, here's what I found. This is what might work for you. Here's what I've tried. Having resourcefulness and a curiosity to learn and a hunger to learn more is the greatest asset that you can have. And if you don't feel like you have that, it's time to unlock that part of yourself right now. I also had mindfulness and just awareness of who I was. So just doing that simple activity of thinking, taking stock of who you are. I was thinking, I have a softer approach. I'm not hard sales. Those people, those kiosk people in the mall, they literally, like, my stomach gets like so tight when I walk by because I'm like, oh, don't talk to me, don't talk to me, don't talk to me. Because I do not like that approach of selling. I don't like feeling manipulated. I don't like feeling tricked. I don't like feeling talked into something. So I'm like, you know what? That's actually an asset that works for me. That's how I'm going to talk to my customers. I'm going to build a business based on trust and not pushing people and patience. I also thought, okay, I work really well. I'm not super witty, like off the cuff. My sister can like come up with the funniest stuff just off the top of her head. Whereas I take more time to think about things. I like to be more mindful of things. So I'm thinking, okay, well, how can I make that work for me? Well, we live in a brilliant time of social media. That means that I can return text, I can return Facebook messages at will, like when I have enough time to process it and think about how I want to respond. And also to post on social media when I want to post, to make blog posts that I can have it sitting in drafts for a week while I think about what I want to say and carefully craft it to something that I want to write. So all these things that I was thinking, well, these are horrible things. I'll give you one last example of just being shy, because I know somebody had mentioned they're shy. When I think of being shy, that instantly in a business world seems like such a detriment. That seems like a horrible thing. But I thought, how can I take advantage of that, and how can I make that work for me? Well, being shy, I understand how other shy people feel. I know how to take a little bit more time to do some more. I don't know if you guys heard Carl Deichler's National Wake Up Call, but he was talking about more successful people who are selling take more time in the investigation phase, in discovering about their clients, their needs, their wants, their goals, their desires. And I'm like, well, being a shy person, that's like, or introverted person, that's my sweet spot. I really like to, get to know someone and take time and conversation and not try to rush things. So that can actually work for me. So thinking about those things about yourself, are you thinking of them through a cynical lens where you're comparing yourself, or are you thinking of them through an opportunity? I don't know what word I was trying to say right there, but are you thinking of them as an opportunist and like, how can I turn this into something that's actually a positive for me, that sets me apart? If you are cynical, if you find yourself, even if you don't feel like you have a bad attitude, but if you find yourself having those cynical thoughts of, well, of course so-and-so can do it because insert whatever reason or excuse you want, then you're closing yourself off to a lot of doors and possibilities. You're closing yourself off to using your mind and unlocking what's in your heart, what's in your mind, using your experiences, which inevitably, you guys know I talk about this all the time, getting you closer to your ideal customer. You're locking yourself off from the people who are truly going to connect with you because you're so dead set on this has to be done a certain way. Don't get locked in, don't pigeonhole yourself into this thought of, well, if I've been a coach for 8 months and I haven't done X, Y, and Z, that must mean I'm not good at it. You have to change the way that you're thinking about it, change your philosophy and say, okay, maybe I've been going about this completely the wrong way. Let me take stock of where I am right now, what I've got going for me, and then let me proceed through that path instead of trying to fit myself in to somebody else's path. So I've got 5 kind of main points that I want to go over. I don't want this call to be too long. But the first thing is focusing on your secret weapons, connecting the dots of your story, your personality, maybe characteristics that you've had, experiences that you've had, and then use that to make sticky posts. And by sticky posts, you guys have heard me talk about this before. A sticky post is something that makes somebody want to connect with you. It's sticky because they're like, oh, like, let me get close to that person. And Laura today on her broadcast, people were like, oh, I feel like she's my best friend. I feel like I know her because she's being vulnerable. She's telling something about her story that not a lot of coaches have talked about, the highs and lows of the business, and that makes people want to be close to her because they feel that genuine connection. So you have to figure out what those sticky posts are for you. And for everyone, it's going to be different. You can absolutely certainly use your sponsor coach or another coach as an example and kind of build off of that until you start to get the confidence to figure out those elements of your story. It doesn't always have to be doom and gloom. It could be the fact that you have a dog. You love your dog. I have a lot of people that connect with me about that. So it's not all negative stuff. The second thing is cozying up with what I call business puberty. And that's just the awkward stage of your business. Maybe a lot of people, when they're in that awkward stage where it's uncomfortable. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's going on. You don't know maybe what the next step is. You're kind of just flailing. You're just trying to figure it out. Instead of running away from that and giving up, you've got to lean into that and say, okay, I'm going to suck for a while. I'm not going to know what I'm doing. I'm going to, be pretty terrible at my first couple conversations or my first live broadcast, but I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to keep honing in on my skills and just know that this is a learning experience. I always tell my new coaches, the first 100 people you talk to, that is your practice round. It's not until you get past, those first couple months of talking to people that you really start to find your voice and you get into a groove and then you start to feel good about it. And then you're like, okay, well, business puberty for starting a conversation and inviting somebody, I've graduated. I have officially gone on to the next level. And then guess what? You're nervous about the next thing. You're nervous about creating a website. You're nervous about training your coaches. There's always going to be that next level in your business. So you have to get comfortable with that feeling of not always having a firm grasp on things, but using them as things that you're working toward, goals you're working toward. If you are stuck, this is my third point, if you are stuck, what is the lesson that you need to learn? Because there's clearly something that is happening, a roadblock that most likely you're putting in front of yourself that is stopping you from continuing to get success. I had my coaches the other day, I was talking to them, and I said, do you feel like a leader? Like, if you say out loud, I am a leader, I'm successful, I'm $1 million earner, does that make you squirm on the inside? Or are you excited about that? Are you ready to do that? Because that's a little activity that you can do where you're like, okay, I'm not comfortable saying that yet, so that means I've got some work to do on the inside. I've got some mindset shifting to do. I've got some personal development that I need to read because I need to get there. And most likely, if you're saying, well, I can't find any business building coaches, it is because you don't believe that you can. And I know that sometimes when you hear that stuff, it sounds so cliche, and it's like, well, you know, you just want to say, I do believe, but if you're being honest with yourself and doing that activity, you know, get to a quiet space, go sit out on your back porch and think about it and give yourself an honest answer. That's how you can kind of uncover some of those roadblocks. So the other thing with being stuck, here's like my favorite thing to say about it. I was watching a dog training video on YouTube one time, and the guy said, you don't give your dog, after your dog's like 2 years old, you don't keep giving them treats for doing sit. Like, that's first grade stuff. Like, if they want a treat, they've got to get to the next level. And I think the same thing is true with coaches. Like, do you really want to keep rewarding yourself for staying at this level when you should be at this level? You have to constantly be pushing yourself to get to that next level, even though, like I said before, it's uncomfortable. And I heard Jim Rohn say something funny where he's like, that's why first grade desks are so small, because 25-year-olds don't belong there. So if you find yourself wanting praise or reward, results, success for doing first grade activities, aka new coach activities, if you're still using that new coach tracker where it's like, talk to a person today, did my workout, then that's where you're stuck. That's where you need to level up and get to that next uncomfortable business puberty level. My fourth point is having a strength building plan. You have to have a game plan. When I was a new coach, one of the things I absolutely sucked at was meal planning and cooking. I literally am the worst cook, you guys. Like, my mom is a horrible cook. It just keeps getting passed down through the generations. So one of the things I did was created a targeted focus on meal prep, learning about food, learning what complex carb and lean protein was and what all of that meant and how I could get better at something that I was horrible at. So instead of just saying, well, I'm not good at that, so I'm just going to refer people to Pinterest, why not lean into that? Why not get better at that? Why not create a targeted plan? And that could be for anything. That could be, I'm a horrible communicator. I need to learn how to make friends and talk to people better. I need better time management skills. I think we all need better time management skills, except for maybe Brittany, because her video the other day was brilliant. But creating that targeted personal development plan and then actually following through on it. You know, looking at the areas, just because, you know, somebody is good at one thing doesn't mean that you are. So just because that's the personal development book that they're reading doesn't mean, you know, I love swapping suggestions, but I really think you have to figure out what it is that you need so that, again, you can get to that next level and break that roadblock. The fifth thing is defining your success and your priorities. I was thinking, I have some coaches. I have one coach in my mind that I'm thinking, I don't want to call her out or anything, but if other people's idea of success falls flat for you and you find that you're just going through the motions because you don't really want to be $1 million earner, you don't really care to be a 15-star diamond, I think recognizing that you don't want that is okay. Maybe you want to earn $200 a week, and that is okay. You know, redefining what that means for you. Maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with money. I have a coach on my team who doesn't care about the money at all. She's really just passionate about paying it forward and, you know, having a purpose. So I think redefining your definition of success, sorry, he's distracting me. I don't know if you guys can hear him. What do you want? Stop crying. But yeah, don't go through the motions. Don't be a zombie just because you don't connect with what you perceive as the general Beachbody definition of success. It can be completely different for all of us, and that's okay. The sixth thing I want to say is choose your hard and weigh your options. And this goes back to me working in retail. I either had the option to stay where I was, or I had the option to do really uncomfortable, scary things and to create a life for the future that I wanted. It's the same thing with working out. Do I want to work out? No. Do I want to be healthy and fit and feel good in the future? Yes. So I'm going to work out. When you weigh your priorities against the action, then suddenly those things don't seem so horrible. Does anybody really like to invite? It's uncomfortable, it's scary, it's work. Of course you don't want to invite. Nobody chooses to do that for fun. But when you weigh that against the alternative, which is staying stuck, not helping people, not living up to your potential, not having a purpose, in your life, then yeah, inviting all of a sudden doesn't seem so hard and scary. So having that scale in your head where you can weigh things weigh the activity against the outcome is so important. And that was something I did as a new coach all the time. I would say, gosh, I don't want to do P90X yoga today. It's 90 minutes. But then every time I would have that thought, I would think of like little money bags flying out the window, which is so weird. But for me, money was a huge motivator. So I'm like, okay, well, I want financial stability in the future, so I'm going to choose to do the thing I don't want to do right now and not build my business based on emotion, but build my business based on what I want for the future and the things that I want for my family in the future. The seventh thing and the final point I have is to explore the outskirts of your comfort zone. They say that's where everything happens. Growth, results, all happen outside of your comfort zone. And I think if you are somebody who is introverted or shy or whatever that roadblock is for you, it's not like my dad, by the way, teaching us how to swim basically just threw us in the water and was like, okay, now you know how to swim. You don't have to do that to get outside your comfort zone. You can take baby steps, and that is okay. Not everyone is on the same timeline as everybody else. So the example I like to give is being an introverted person. It was really difficult for me to get comfortable with the idea of having face-to-face conversations with people and inviting people or talking to people who I met in person instead of hiding behind the computer. So the one thing I did as a newer coach, I went to, if I was going to Home Goods or the grocery store, I would think to myself, okay, today my goal is to smile at 5 people and make eye contact. It didn't have to be creepy, but it was like just enough for me to get from, just my own world to then looking up, smiling, and it actually would put me in a better mood. Then the next time I would go, I'd say, okay, today I'm going to look somebody in the eye, smile, and then I'm going to just say hi, and that's it. So from going from just smiling to then making eye contact and smiling and saying hi, and then the next time it was add in a compliment, and over time those small incremental things, I began to get more and more comfortable with doing something that was outside of my comfort zone. And then now I feel like, you have enough, you build up experience, you build up, I don't know what word I'm searching for there, but then you gain confidence, so it's not as big of a deal. So the same thing with inviting people on your Facebook page. Yeah, the first couple times it's like, gosh, this is really uncomfortable and this stinks. But over time, as you continue to do it and take those little steps, you get better and better and better. So I can open it up for any questions, but I wanted to give you guys the takeaways that I would love for you to share in the comments. And I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget what I wanted to say. So activity number 1, think of 2 to 3 things that set you apart. And like I said, that could be characteristics about yourself, that could be personality, that could be experiences, that could be circumstances, that could be anything about yourself that sets you apart from what you perceive to be needing to have to be a successful coach. Whether you think somebody has to have an outgoing personality, or you think somebody has to be blonde, or you think they have to be 5'7", whatever that looks like for you, what are the things that set you apart from your perception of what you need to be successful? And then bonus, how do you change your paradigm to make that something that works in your favor? The next thing is, how do you beef up your belief or knowledge? And like I said, that could be about time management, that could be about communication. How are you going to create your own personal development, your own personal development plan to work on those areas where you can get better, where you can improve? And last, which hard will you choose? Will you be the person who sits there, the retail manager I talked to, who sits there 5 years later and has regret? Or will you be the person sitting in your amazing home, whatever that looks like for you, living the life of your dreams, having financial stability for your family, doing what you love? So what is it going to be? Are you going to choose the hard of regret or the hard of just getting in there and doing the work? So choose your hard, guys. I hope that helps, and I really hope that you guys feel like I touched on some of those things, because like I wanted to, because I know for me as a newer coach, you're trying to find your way, you're looking for the example, you're looking for success clues, but then it's like, well, how do I make that fit me? How do I make that feel right for me? Because somebody else's technique or way of running the business doesn't always translate to what's going to work for you or your personality or your style. If I had to do some type of hard sales, I wouldn't make it. I just wouldn't make it. I am more, like I said, like the patient, take my time, build trust, not any pressure. I always like to leave a back door open so they could, politely decline. I don't like anyone to feel like I'm coercing them into doing something or tricking them or anything like that. So it really is about stop trying to make the square peg fit in the round hole and figure out how to take whatever it is about yourself and your situation, your personality, and make that work for you. All right, so if you guys have any questions, post below. I'm going to go snuggle him because he just keeps on whining over here. What do you want? Baby bear's out there, you can see her. All right, guys. Thanks for being part of this group.